I'm Manny.
I'm Noah.
And this is Devin. And this is No Such Thing, the show where we settle our dumb arguments and yours by actually doing the research. On today's episode, we settle an argument we've been having for nearly 10 years.
I think it's kind of insane to say that horses don't like to run.
Most people that have a set perception about anything haven't spent very much time observing with any sort of open curiosity.
So good timing, the snakes aren't out yet. Hi, Saturn!
There's no such thing. No such thing. No such thing. No such thing. No such thing.
So I grew up in a suburb in New Jersey, and like most suburbs in the Northeast, there's not much to do. So we spent a lot of time going back and forth to the mall. At one point, I actually worked at the mall. And to avoid a lot of the traffic on the main roads, we would take the back roads. And on these back roads, there were a ton of horse farms. So we'd often be driving back and forth past horses. And I started to notice every single time we would drive past these horse farms, they were never running. I don't see, up until that point, especially, I had not seen a lot of horses in my life, not up close. But we see all these pictures, all this, what I'll call propaganda, as children, of horses running, being majestic. And I was like, how come every time when there are no people around on this farm, the horses are just standing still, mostly eating, not really moving around much at all, not even a trot.
No gallops?
No, barely a gallop. They're just standing there, right? And I'm like, if I were to put a group, and this is when they're together, the family's together. Is it rare? I would see one horse alone. Usually it's two or three of them in a, what do you call it, a pen? I don't know what you call those things.
Like I don't know, a fenced area.
A fenced-in area. This is how much I know about horses.
Ranch,
right?
Yeah.
And I was like, if I had that same area and I put 3 dogs, at some point from all these trips, I would see those dogs running. And to this day, I have never seen horses run in person without humans telling them to do it. Or forcing them to do it.
So
or
what?
prodding them to do it.
Okay.
So then I started to think, do horses even like running? Like, I don't think horses like to run, because if they like to run, they would be running when humans weren't around. I guess I never really said this out loud until we started working together, because it's always been something that's percolating in my mind.
Yeah.
And, we'd get into our dumb arguments and have our dumb conversations, and I brought it up to both of you one day, and I was like, actually, I don't think horses like to run.
So now all of our listeners are in the exact same position that Noah and I were in right after you told us.
Odd silence.
But think about it. Think about it. When have you seen horses run, right, in person? We're going to get, later we will get to the videos, the documentaries,
So-called
the movies.
documentaries.
Yeah, so-called. Yeah, I got lots to say about that. But just when in your life have you just seen a horse just going for it, like sprinting, just like, I'm running. Oh, I like this.
I can't say I have. I've also, like you, I haven't really been around the horses.
Yeah, I guess it's tough for me to recall because I haven't seen any horses really.
So neither one of you have seen horses on a farm running on their own?
No.
Okay. I think we could maybe end the podcast here.
Yeah. And cut.
So I guess maybe I should just say to restate, my opinion is I don't think horses like to run. I think horses are good at running. I think they're majestic creatures. They're very strong. They're very powerful. They look beautiful running. But I don't think, in terms of, if horses got to decide whether or not they would like to run, I don't think most horses...
They would never run.
Like running.
They would never run.
This is just based on what I've seen. And, everyone that I've talked to, I haven't talked to anyone who's said they've seen horses run for fun. That being said, I don't know very many horse people. I don't spend a lot of time with a lot of horse people. But as a casual observer, look, and that's why I bring up the dog example, right? Because even if Manny doesn't really fuck with dogs.
Yeah.
Manny has seen a dog run.
I've seen them run all the time.
The dog example is pretty powerful. I don't
Right?
remember this one. Yeah.
And it's like usually dogs running, no human interaction. You go to a dog park, all the humans, none of the humans are moving. The dogs are going off.
Yeah, I mean, the dogs, they have, really fast bursts of energy. I wonder if horses on their own might do that, and we're just kind of missing it.
Like, I have not seen it, not once.
But, like...
So, I guess...
I think...
where do we all stand on this?
I think it's kind of insane to say that horses don't like to run. I think...
Okay, so my initial
more-
prompt was horses hate running, which is,
That's a little strong.
I admit, a little strong, but sometimes you gotta get people's attention, you know?
Yeah, I think my initial kind of reaction to this is I would imagine that, like humans, some horses might like running, some might not. I don't like running. I'll do it for exercise, but there are some people who do enjoy running. So I think my initial reaction would just to be that it's probably similar to
And even
humans.
so, that's still a very small portion of what you do if you're a runner.
Yeah. That's true.
So it's like,
You don't spend a lot of time running.
thinking
if you're a
like,
runner.
you watch like a nature documentary, and we'll talk about documentaries more.
Especially
But-
nature documentaries. If
But
we
I'm
can
kind of
call them
saying,
that.
but my point is that you only see kind of the extreme bits in those where you're not seeing most of life, and this goes for humans as well as animals, is pretty much doing nothing. And then there's moments of extreme activity happening.
Most of life is doing
Well, what I mean is like you watch
physically
a documentary and it's like, okay, you see the predator attacking.
Yeah.
Most of the time, these animals are just sitting around drinking water.
Yeah.
So I kind of view that similarly to the running, where it's like, yeah, we'll run for 5 minutes, kind of get our little moves on, and then we're just gonna chill out, eat. Why would we, especially on a farm in the back roads?
Yeah,
there's not much going on, so we're just gonna chill.
Yeah, I think what's
Maybe
interesting...
we trotted around early in the morning, before the cars are coming by.
I think what's interesting about this question is that it is true that growing up, we are kind of led to believe that like horses are running all the time.
all the time.
Under the sunset. Oh! Ride like the wind, bullseye!
Horses like to run, horses like to run, horses like to run, horses like to run.
Have you ever seen a video image of a horse not running?
Yeah. Like right now, I'm gonna type horse into
it's the default pose
into Google.
And what are the images we have
immediately? The first horse
is a horse galloping.
sprinting.
Right? And it's kind of interesting because it's with other animals, but I'd say outside of like a cheetah.
Yeah, I was gonna say cheetahs.
Cheetah, because we love to talk about how fast they are. So yeah, but those are images we're gonna see. Every other animal is just like
we love to talk about it.
Do we not? Do we not?
We do.
love to
We are
talk about how
obsessed with
fast
it,
cheetahs
Hey,
are?
when I was in middle school, I was talking a
every
lot
day,
about how fast cheetahs were.
Insane, but
Yeah.
we are fed this horses run, and I think part of it I think is innocent, and that horses are very good at running. They're some would say built to run. But I think part of it too is that from humans' very first interactions with horses, we like to make them do shit, whether that's pulling things, racing. And in order for us to feel better about making them do that stuff,
Even just transit, like
getting
getting
them
on a
from one
horse
place to
go.
the next, right? That's a lot harder to do if in your mind you're thinking, maybe this animal actually doesn't like doing this.
So you asked this question earlier, have we ever seen a horse running? And in person, we haven't, but there's, countless footage of this. So
let's discuss that.
I want to...
Let's talk about the footage.
So what do you think is happening
about
with
the
the
footage.
horses that are running in the footage?
Okay, what type of footage are we talking about here? Because
They'll just be in a field galloping with their homies.
Well, usually let's think about this, right? Beautiful, majestic, the sun setting.
what is usually the angle we see of these horses? Is it down below?
It's kind of a bird's eye view.
A bird's eye point of view. Wow. Okay. So we got a bird's eye view of the horses, right? So usually when we get bird's eye views of things, especially horses out in the wild, we're in something I like to call a helicopter. Right?
you like to
call them that.
Okay, yeah. I'm following.
I think many people like to call them that.
Let me ask you this. Are helicopters quiet?
No.
Are those quiet machines? Can a helicopter just pull up here real quick and no one notice that a helicopter's outside? No, they're really loud.
So you're saying the horses are running because they're...
Horses are easily spooked. That's like everyone knows that.
That's probably the second fact we know about.
Yeah, horses are... Around. You ever see the horses out there? Okay, I have been to a horse show before. Once again, none of the horses doing anything besides when the people are making them do stuff.
They're trained, yeah. They're broken.
But there's some horses, they have the blinders on because they can't see something to the side or they'll lose their damn mind. Mm-hmm. Okay? So, and you got to think about horses in the wild, survival. If something is coming, if a predator is coming, that's when you got to run. Go. Right?
I guess that doesn't mean that every time they're running, it's only because of
that. You're asking me, the question was about the
footage,
nature documentaries, right? So what I'm saying is that in these documentaries, most of what you're seeing is from a bird's eye point of view, a helicopter, very noisy, and the horses are running because they're running away from the damn helicopter.
What if you're at some other perch, like on a mountain top?
Oh, okay. Look, I'll also concede that horses run to get from one place to another.
Yeah, they must.
Yeah, it's like, hey, we got to go over there and get some water.
Let's run.
Let's run. That don't mean they enjoy doing it. You know,
but why wouldn't they walk to the water?
Because it takes longer. Let's just put this out there in terms of, I don't know if either one of you have actually consumed anything in regards to nature documentaries, but they're all full of shit.
Yeah, that I do know.
That's kind of my point before.
All of nature documentaries, not even just in regards to horses, in regards to all animals. They fake a lot of stuff in nature documentaries. Yeah. The sound is all made up.
Yeah.
I was listening to a story the other day, a podcast story. I didn't read it in a book. But
okay. Thank you.
What are those things called? Lemmings?
Lemmings. Yeah.
You know, that
jump over cliffs.
Yeah, they don't actually do that. That's made up.
So what's
so like there's this famous documentary of like a bunch of lemmings, like the idea is that one runs and jumps off a cliff and they're all so stupid they're just like, oh, you did it, I'm gonna do it. Mm-hmm. So that's become like a saying now.
One of these is a mousy little rodent called the lemming. Here's an actual living legend. For it's said of this tiny animal that it commits mass suicide by rushing into the sea in droves.
Most people think it was popularized by this Disney documentary from the 50s, and this Canadian journalist looked into it and he found that they allegedly faked the whole thing.
Really?
These lemmings were brought in from a part of Canada where they're not even native to, and the filmmakers were literally pushing them off the cliff.
They reach the final precipice. This is the last chance to turn back. Yet over they go, casting themselves bodily out into space.
But it's all made up.
Okay.
Physically pushing them off the cliff or scaring them to jump?
I don't know.
So
they're forcing them
no
off
idea
the
what
cliff.
they were doing.
Forcing them off the cliff.
Insane.
This didn't come from nowhere. Lemmings do dissipate from an area, right? They go to an area, they eat up all the food, and then they're like, all right, we got to get out of here, we got to leave. So the thinking is that people saw this happening, and sometimes they do all get all lined up on a cliff when they're doing this, but they're not committing suicide.
They're not trying to fall off the cliff.
Yeah.
They're just trying to move on somewhere.
They're trying to just leave the area. They're not it's time to die.
Wow. I'm gonna see if I can find it
while
we're
we'll
talking.
put that in the show notes.
Yeah, knowing how set up and kind of fake those documentaries are, it wouldn't surprise me if in this footage of horses running in the wild that they did something to make them run first before they hit record. Sense. I don't know if it's a helicopter scaring them, but it wouldn't surprise me if they did something.
I also think something we're kind of ascribing human conceptions of liking, and I don't know how to really talk about animals and the pleasure they perceive. Like, do any animals do anything purely because they
for fun
like it?
Oh,
Like
yeah.
even we talk about the dogs running outside.
I think Ollie
they
loves
play.
to run. I think he loves running.
But I mean, is it just like their body's saying like you need to exercise and you have all this energy to use?
I think.
And is there a difference?
Yeah, but I think he enjoys the act of running. The only thing I would concede is to Manny's point. I think horses are more similar to humans than we give them credit for. I think they have different personalities. Mm-hmm. Some of those motherfuckers might like to run. And I think, did we talk about the horses? We haven't even brought up the racetrack stuff because I know we all can agree that's bad.
Well, we know they're good at running.
They're good at
Obviously,
running.
they're being controlled and
they're bred to run anything. Their whole life is being reinforced to run. So I think that is a different type of horse than
we can't touch that.
A horse in the wild, because it's like, literally your existence is dependent on running, like racehorses. I don't think you really have a choice on whether or not you like it. You just do it.
Oh, yeah.
I think horses in the wild there's probably some lazy horses. There's probably some horses who love to run and want to run. And I think if we had to give horses a survey, I think more horses would not like running versus horses that enjoy running.
That's interesting.
So why
do you say that?
Because I've never seen a horse run.
All right, so how would we try to get an answer for this then?
That's a good question. I think there's a lot of people who are invested in this, the truth not getting out.
This goes back to the documentaries.
Yeah, I guess a good question is, why do you think it's been important for humankind to beat into us that horses enjoy running?
To my earlier point, everything we do with horses involves them moving.
This is the first domino.
If the truth comes out that these horses are not really down for that, and you are forcing them to do that, I think people have to feel very differently about the way that we interact with horses day to day. So I think it's a lot easier to just say, hey, they're good at this. They like it. They like when my daughter Susie is riding it every Tuesday for 2 hours and jumping over stuff, because that's what they would do in the wild. They just like doing that. So we're giving her the opportunity to do that. And I'm like, I don't think horses. I think if you let that horse be left alone, then have little Susie riding it, it would not be running and jumping. It will be standing there eating some food, run when it needs to, but otherwise, leave me alone, Susie. I don't want to just be out here running.
So we tell ourselves the horses enjoy running to rationalize what we do to them.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely.
Wow. And
absolutely.
How can we go about trying to get to the bottom of this?
We got to find some people who are not in the horse industrial complex. After the break, we talked to someone who left the horse industrial complex and take a journey that made us reevaluate our entire relationship to animals.
Hello. Hi. So we got a horse walking up to us.
All right, fellas, we're back in the studio. So we've had this question for a while, and I think sort of the tough thing with this question is finding the right person to talk to, because as we discussed in part one and in the 800 previous conversations we've had about this topic, there's a lot of biases involved.
It's a lot.
It's a very touchy issue.
On this issue. I don't really trust anybody on it.
Yeah.
But I think
can't even trust your own eyes.
I can't trust my own eyes, which is why we're here, sir.
That's why we're here.
But I think I found the perfect person for this. Okay, because she's someone who has experience on both sides of the fence, let's say.
My name is Ren Hurst. I've got a 20-year background as a professional horsewoman, relatively successful as both a horse trainer and a farrier.
I had to look up what the hell that is.
F-E-R?
F-A-R-R-I-E-R. This shows how little we know about horses.
Never heard, yeah.
This is someone who trims horse hooves.
Oh,
okay.
Wow. Professionally.
So, and, she was a trainer. She rode horses. She spent 20 years with horses. Let's just say
built for this.
And what does she do now?
She actually left the industry entirely.
Wow.
Okay.
Why did she leave?
Well, we're gonna get to that. Okay. So she grew up in Texas.
Represent.
Yeah, Randy was born in Dallas.
Yeah, I didn't actually grow up there. That doesn't count.
But she joked that where she grew up, there were actually more horses than people in her hometown.
I grew up in rodeo country, USA, going to rodeos as a kid, being around horses. Like most girls, I looked at horses as a symbol of freedom and power and beauty, and was, obviously drawn to that for all the reasons that most people are.
So then Ren went on to have a pretty successful career as a professional horsewoman. She said her transformation to where she is now didn't happen overnight, but there was one really big catalyst that put her on the path that she's on today.
I ended up in this very esoteric school of horsemanship out of Russia called Nevzorov Otakol.
Thanks to the school's method, such relations between horse and man now turn out to be possible, without the use of any special painful device in its mouth, without punishment, without any means of control.
And I had no intention of coming to the conclusions that I did, but I thought, here's a man, the guy that's leading the school at the time, that can do things that I've never seen done before. And I was really advanced in my own horsemanship skills, so that was saying something.
And Ren was shocked because she said, unlike what she was doing day to day, what this guy was doing didn't involve any actual training whatsoever.
And for one, you have to understand there's all sorts of different ways to modify an animal's behavior or a human's behavior. From the perspective of having a unequal power dynamic where somebody has control of the situation and can manipulate, coerce, force. So I'm speaking to absolutely in any forms of training. It doesn't matter how positive you perceive the training to be. And I switched that with listening, feeling, intuiting, and leading from an embodied place that made the animal feel very safe to be with me because I was not being dishonest on any level.
So then Ren actually took those tools and tried to put them into practice.
And I started working with this very untamed stallion that was potentially really dangerous. And after having a long, successful career as a trainer, what I was applying with this horse was completely dismantling everything I had ever thought to be true. And it completely shattered my reality, both as a horse trainer, but also just as a human being on this planet, looking at what the fuck are we doing? Dominating nature in this way and separating ourselves from each other and from the natural order of things.
So the school completely shattered Ren's worldview and her philosophy of how humans should be interacting with animals.
Everything we think we know about horses is viewed through the lens of our own domestication, rather through the lens of actually understanding what it means to be horse, much less animal.
So Ren does still have horses now, but she's not out there riding them or forcing them to run around.
I have undomesticated my herd, which basically means I have returned them to their own emotional sovereignty, which means that I have allowed them to be guided by their own intrinsic forces rather than my perceived ideas of what is good and not good for them. And that has rewritten my truth around what horses need, who horses are, and what is actually good for them. And when you spend a lot of time with wild or undomesticated animals, you get to have an entirely different experience of what it means to be fully embodied animal. Our entire society is set up to keep you from doing that because domestication is the intentional interruption of emotional development so that someone can control your behavior. And that is the essence of capitalism and society as it currently exists. They still are selling you the feel goods instead of the feel it alls.
She took the red pill.
Ooh.
Wow.
The feel goods versus the feel it.
Ren is operating on a different level.
Yeah, she's on a different plane. Let me get this straight. So basically, Ren is making an argument as to why we shouldn't domesticate horses, and basically the specific argument is that domestication is a form of trauma, and so if you domesticate an animal, their development is constantly being interrupted.
Yes,
because we're interfering in their lives that they were not built. They weren't built for us to do that.
And I think her takeaway is we should just be focused on ourselves and not trying to domesticate others, and that's including animals. But before we go too deep down that rabbit hole, I wanted to ask her, how the horses are behaving now that she's changed the way that she's interacting with them.
So I have a herd of 20 that I still care for. And this most significant difference is the herd is just very, very peaceful. Just all the time. Like, they listen, they're very cooperative. They don't act like horses that have anything to worry about. Everything is easy to do. If I need to trim somebody's hooves, if I need to do vet care, if I need to manage them, if I need to move them from place to place, we don't use any training. There's no manipulation. And yet there is a cohesiveness and a harmony and a cooperative state of being here, just because they know that they are cared for and safe and don't have to, they know they're always going to be heard.
Now that's how she behaves towards horses, like that's her new kind of line of thinking. Did you ask her, like, if horses are running on their own more willingly or doing it less often because of that new dynamic? So basically, without the human interaction,
what are they doing?
These guys run when they play. They definitely have bouts of that where I'll wake up and see the whole herd running around and rearing up and bucking, and they're just, feeling good in themselves, and it's intrinsically motivated. And you can tell they're being joyful because they're playing. There's also times where they get scared of something and then they run because it's instinctual. They never run because anybody's telling them to, because there's nobody to do that. I don't think anyone can say horses love to run about any horse all the time. Just like I can't say you love whatever you're drinking right now all the time. Like, there are moments I love to run because it feels good to do so, but those moments are not consistent. They're not every day. And it has nothing to do with who I am. And if anybody perceived that about me, I'd be like, you don't know shit about me. Like, why would you even say that? And we typically project. That's what domestication is. It's like a constant projection of trauma from the human world.
That is insightful to me, because it's basically the answer is horses do like running when they want to run.
Yeah.
Which is, I know that's not super novel, but like it does help me
for
to
what we're
understand
talking
it a little
about.
bit.
Yeah, it's helpful.
Because when most of the time horses are running, they don't want to. It's like a race,
or when we're seeing them,
work or labor. Yeah, even our question, in her view, is probably a form of domesticating the.
Because the idea. That's the idea.
Perpetuating the world where horses
can only.
That's what they do.
Or do. Yeah, it's like the whole point of this question was to be like, everyone thinks horses love to run. I don't think they do. Yeah. And it's like, so then now we've gone to the other extreme of saying like, no, horses don't like running at all at any time, rather than like, I don't know, it's kind of complex. Sometimes they like to run, sometimes
they're individual
they don't.
creatures, first of all. And there's different moods and different things.
And even like horses that like to run may not want to run on one day versus another day.
Yeah. It's the most logical explanation.
Yeah.
It makes the most sense.
Yeah, it seems like another kind of framing we had was, if horses were left to their own devices, would they be running more or less? It sounds like the answer is less.
Yeah, I think that's true. And even talking to people who I would say like really disagree with run, they had a similar sentiment that like, no, horses aren't just going to be out there sprinting just because, like, they aren't like cross-country runners. That's not the case.
Yeah, I agree with that. It sounds like even the horses that may like running probably aren't doing it for, vast lengths of time or across great distances, even if humans had no impact on their lives.
Which is contrary to kind of what we grew up believing.
I really think that the more healed we become in our own animal body, the less domestication is even interesting. And there's a reason that wild animals out there aren't domesticating each other, because they don't need to, and there's no value in that. So when you talk to these other people and ask them that question, it's like, well, what happens when you remove all of your influence from the horse? Are they still running? The answer is no, they're not, because their horses are so freaking traumatized that's why they stand around in pastures all day and do nothing. And that's not black and white either, because the better a horse is loved and cared for, the better they feel in their body. And the better you feel in the body, the more you want to move it. But that doesn't mean they're out there running around for the sake of running around, because no healthy animal is unaware of the importance of the conservation of energy, especially a prey animal. You're not going to have horses running around expending energy for no reason when they might need to run away from a threat when it comes. But, I mean, most people that have a set perception about anything haven't spent very much time observing with any sort of open curiosity at all about the thing that they're perceiving.
Might not need them, but I brought some gloves.
Yeah, I have gloves too.
Okay, great.
And to Ren's point, it felt weird for three guys to do a whole podcast about horses without us actually spending any time with horses. So we went back to those New Jersey back roads and visited one of those horse farms where this whole thing started.
Your destination will be on the left.
All right, we're pulling up on the ranch here, and we see some horses outside, and I will say, not a single one of them are running right now. In fact, not only are they not running, they are standing completely still.
Wow. I can't believe what I'm seeing. Or not seeing.
Okay,
So
one of them
let's-
was walking.
Okay, we got some movement.
Let's go inside and see what's up.
Oh, outside it.
Or go outside, that's right.
We took a tour of Bergen County Horse Rescue with Aaron, who's the founder.
So give me a little
background on the pod.
Yeah.
So we're doing a podcast about whether or not horses love running.
Okay.
And Jen, who's the equine manager.
So good timing. The snakes aren't out yet. Hi, Saturns. So now Olive is going to come over and say hi to us.
Hey, Olive.
And as soon as Saturn comes over here, Saturn's going to chase her away because Saturn's top horse and Olive is on the bottom. So now watch, Saturn's ears are going to go back.
Oh.
And she's going to chase her away.
Oh, yeah, and she's out.
And Saturn's going to come and say hi.
So yeah, they have all different personalities. People will ask me if horses know their names, and I believe that they all know their names, but 90% of them are just going to ignore you anyway.
Yeah. So more like cats.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, yeah, okay, yeah, all right. Murphy, though, you call him Murphy, and he comes right over. And I swear, he loves it. And we had him for probably 2 weeks, and he already learned his name.
Wow.
Which is pretty wild.
This is Murphy.
Hello, Murphy.
This is Dropkick Murphy.
Okay, so I'm running in the corner now. It's more of a trot. Okay.
All right. Okay.
I won't call that a run.
Definitely moving a little bit, but this is essentially like the equivalent of me like trying to beat the crosswalk time.
Yeah, it's like
get on a light little jog, and then I'm done after 10 seconds.
Yeah.
It's the weather. This is more of a lazy day for them. The sun is strong, so you probably in a little while, a lot of them will be laying down and sleeping.
Now you said, you got to exercise them, so left to their own devices, I guess they're not.
No, they'll just hang.
Media that you see about horses is always about how much they are running all the time, and like there's movies or cartoons,
seriously.
and it's like
well, yeah, I watch even some of the stuff, and they're on these rides throughout the United States, and I'm like the horses need to rest. What aren't they? And meanwhile, it's like a movie. I'm like, they better water those horses soon. Probably one of the most animals that there's a lot of misconceptions about.
Yes.
People just don't know enough about them, and the stuff that's out there for the general public is really misinformed.
No Such Thing is produced by Manny Fidel, Noah Friedman, and me, Devin Joseph. Theme song by Manny. This is I've Always Been the First to Say I Love You by Certain Self. Our guests this week were Aaron and Jen from the Bergen County Horse Rescue and Ren Hurst, who has a book out titled The Wisdom of Wildness. Thanks to our friends for their notes, Julia Lindsay, Mia DeGraff, Catherine Isaac, Sarah Floyd, and Shruti and PJ from Search Engine. Visit nosuchthing.show to see photos of us with Murphy at the Bergen County Horse Rescue and some of our Wild Horses Hate Running merch that we made back in 2019. Next time on No Such Thing.
Right now, I've got to give it, I think, a 1.5.
Damn.
Yep.
You said a lot of it is pretty hideous to me. That's crazy.